I'm Scott Weatherly. Welcome to 20th Century Geek. Welcome back, listeners. This is a bit of a bonus episode we're throwing in just for shits and giggles, really.
Shits and giggles, always
shits
a good
and
thing.
Giggles, yeah. So, as you can tell, I'm with Mike, Mad Mike again.
And I just had a shit, and I laughed as I was doing it.
And there you go.
Yeah,
exactly, shits and giggles.
Shits and giggles.
So this episode, I'm throwing it out as a bonus episode to review. We're keeping it retro because it's still 20th Century Geek. Mm-hmm. We're going to review something we saw at the cinema.
Deep Throat.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was an Italian porn retrospective.
It wasn't. Yeah.
No, we went to see Terminator 2 in 3D.
We did, yes. We went to see Lord of the Ring as well, didn't we, in 3D, but that was a bit upsetting, really.
It was.
Yeah.
Lord of the Ring.
Yeah. So, now we all know that was Mad Mike. Anyway.
But no, it was.
Terminator was emotional. That's what it was.
Seeing it was a bit. Did you because you are slightly older than me, but not by much. But did you see it at the cinema?
Yes,
when
it originally came out. Yeah. I saw it at the cinema when it originally came out, and it was breathtaking. Then you know, it's just like, whoa, this is cool. So I mean, to see it again in 3D. I mean, and that's the thing, isn't it? There's that films don't necessarily warrant 3D. And this film, there was an argument to the case of it didn't warrant 3D. But to be honest with you, it didn't take anything away from the film.
No.
It wasn't 3D in a Avatar kind of sense. It was a 3D in a kind of... There was one or two moments where something popped out the screen at you, like explosions.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. I mean...
There was depth.
There was depth to it. I mean, this is a... Yeah, but with Avatar, so it was filmed with 3D
with 3D
cameras.
in mind, yeah.
So it has that. It's like looking through a window when you watch Avatar in 3D. And with this, it's a like a retro conversion kind of job.
Yeah.
And they've layered it, and sometimes those can look god awful. Like they can look really bad sometimes. Because even like new films get converted.
Even Disney animations get, like there was the 3D Finding Nemo, and it was just...
They all look a bit naff, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it.
So I was a bit worried about this, that this was going to be a bit of a George Lucas... You know, that Cameron's going down a George Lucas road here, and all of a sudden all of his films are going to be 3D, and he's going to polish them and do all sort of shit. But it's not that, like, at all. Like, the CG additions that he's done since 1992 are minimal. Like, there's a couple of bits and pieces to tidy up, and they've, like, made it brighter and cleaned up some things for the 3D conversion, and that's it.
One of the things was Robert Patrick's ball sack. Which I was a bit disappointed because that's one of the highlights of my film.
His ball sack almost won an Oscar.
I wore out my VHS. Just balls in there.
Scene by scene. Pause.
Sharon Stone, Basic Instinct. No, Robert Patrick's ball pack. The entire time, you know. But no, it's a small touches like that. That's what.
Is that what you like to give Robert Patrick's balls? Small touches.
Yeah, small touches. No, but you know, it's like little things like that you don't really think of, but then you think, well, it's almost like having a Picasso, and then just going, it just needs a little dot there, and a little dot there, and a little dot there. Right, that's fine. I'm done. That's all it needs.
Yeah.
I think it's one of these things where you can't really change perfection.
No. And that's the thing. It was one of those things that when watching it, that the things they did were things that they clearly couldn't do. Like the technology didn't exist to do the things that Cameron's done since. I mean, the two ones that stand out the most is in the lorry chase scene when the lorry's chasing after John Connor, and it comes off the bridge. The glass all falls out, and then you go back to it, and it's still in there. And so apparently that's sort of bugged him for years. So he stopped it. So he's gone back and he said, no, now when it comes off, we've CG'd it. So the front of the lorry, it's now in continuity. It's no longer continuity error. Bonus, that's the sort of thing you should be doing. And the other one is because they've raised the brightness of the thing for 3D and just to make it 4K, when the stuntman comes off the ramp, he comes again during that chase, it clearly was never Arnie.
No, it's true.
But on VHS, you sort of got away with it.
Yeah.
But in 4K, you could pretty much tell.
It was just a stuntman in a rubber Arnie mask.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
So they've digitally put Arnie's head on it, and it looks brilliant.
They did that twice, didn't they, in the film? They did it for another sequence in the film.
I think that's about it. Yeah. There's a couple of that, but that's it. Like, so they are literally tidy up jobs.
But you think about Cameron, right? he had this niggly thought about, I must get that truck window to stay in, right? And it'd been bugging him for ages. And when he finally got the opportunity to do it, he did it. Do you think he actually still had that niggling thought about Robert Patrick's balls? No. That scrotum is in short. I must get rid of it. I must get rid of the scrotum.
I read about this. So it was an article on I think it was on Screen Rant, and I read it, and it was basically a bit of an interview with James Cameron, and he was saying he hadn't even thought about that's the one thing he'd never noticed. And it wasn't until they were going back and doing the 4K restoration that the guy who did the 4K restoration was like, do you want us to do something with that? And he was just like, yeah, probably should. We'll do something about that.
It just shows that the T4, that the T1000 is human.
Well, I've always thought about this weird thing, right?
Yeah.
Because
he's got to blend in.
From a story point,
yeah.
The whole Arnie thing makes sense. It's a robotic structure, an endoskeleton covered in human flesh.
Yeah.
Right. Why does it need sex organs? Because it's going to blend in,
But if it's naked in
the future,
sort of like in 23 Dixon Road, Coventry, for instance, then it could be it needs to blend in because it needs to assassinate that girl that took 60 quid of my money and never gave me a refund.
Okay. Odd little sidebar,
what?
But this I'm going to lead this to a little bit of a question. Then,
yeah.
Right?
Okay. Was she worth 60 quid? No, not really.
No. Okay, disappointment all round, I think.
59, but yeah.
That last pound knocked it over the edge, did it?
No, that was 59 was my number.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Took a ticket.
She stunk by the time I got to her. So
leaking all over the place.
All over. She was like a really bad Chinese.
Oh, sticking with the sex metaphors.
Yeah.
Right? So if he has sex organs, he's got a cock basically, right?
Yeah.
To look human.
Yeah.
Does it work? As in, if Sarah Connor was to rip her titty, he was like, Sarah Connor, and she was like, ah! Took all her clothes off.
What's she like?
Does he get?
How did you not get the part?
I don't know.
How did you not get the part?
It came
Sarah
down
Connor?
to me and Linda Hamilton,
and Linda Hamilton got it.
And yeah, she got it and married James
Cameron.
So that's why. There you go. Slept away to the middle is what she did.
Yeah. I'm just checking out your neighbour through the window, actually.
Okay. Do you think then? The same with goes for the T1000. He can produce. He can. So does Arnie's cock work?
Liquid sperm.
Well, no, more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know when he's got his finger and his arms become sort of what they call blades and stabbing weapons. Could he have a cock knife?
He could have a cock knife. You think about it though. He can blend his cock into anything.
Anything.
So if he touches like a black dude, his cock would be 12 foot long.
Seriously.
You know what I mean? It's brilliant, wouldn't it? You just have to. I'm doing up my trousers, so I'm talking about this. Sorry about that. You would mould your cock into anything you want to.
This skinny sort of white Irish dude could sort of basically go,
yeah,
hey ladies, and it's been that, and all of a sudden Shaft's cock falls out.
Yeah, Shaft's cock. Do you think that when he does that, he goes, "I promise I will not kill anyone." Maybe just hurt a little.
I was going to say, she'll live.
Come with me if you want to come. So porn Terminator then.
Yeah, so basically we're going to porn parody.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit worried about any of the episodes we record.
Sperminator.
The Sperminator.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, Terminator 2, going back to it then, is possibly, for me it's a 5-star film.
Totally,
or a 10
100%.
out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 film. It's
Absolutely.
possibly one of the best films. It's one of the best sequels ever made.
Yes.
And possibly one of the best films. As far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think out of the 90s, it's one of the best films to come out of the 90s. I wouldn't say it's the best film of all time.
No, not the best.
You got comparisons with people like the films like Jaws, for instance, which just phenomenal, And I mean, if I had to choose between Terminator 2 and Jaws, what a difficult choice that is. And you got aliens and stuff. So
Cameron, though, this is the thing. James Cameron, he makes a cracking sequel.
He makes a cracking film. I mean, Cameron's not really. There's not a film. Love him or hate him. There's not really a film that hasn't been a huge success. But I've got Titanic, Avatar. True Lies was a huge success.
True Lies is an amazing
and all
film.
great films.
Yeah.
He's done exceptionally well.
None of his films, I would say, you could rate his films. I mean, you could literally put them in order and say, here's the James Cameron's films in order, sort of thing. But I would definitely say none of his films are bad.
No, absolutely not. No, yeah, I would agree.
Even The Abyss, which is probably one of my least favourite Cameron films. But even then, that's a pretty good film.
Well, that's a Kickstarter for Terminator 2, isn't it? The effects that are in there, and you look at Terminator 2, it's like,
so this is where you tried it out.
Yeah, this is a trial by error kind of film.
I mean, absolutely, James Cameron, he does some good stuff. I mean, like you say,
Linda Hamilton.
He did some, yeah. That was the other thing as well. Actually, watching it with the improved special effects and all this other stuff. But the thing of it is, maybe it's just me getting older. When I was a kid and I watched Terminator in the 90s, Terminator 2 in the 90s, having seen Terminator 1 and then you watch Terminator 2, you go, oh man, she worked out, and fair play to her, like she dedicated herself to that role.
She was really
and she is amazing in that film. I was never really attracted to her. Watch it this time.
You were touching yourself.
Well, internally, I was. Mentally, I was like, oh, she's actually really attractive.
Someone was touching herself. I'm sure it was you.
No, I think it was the guy next the other side of you.
Oh, was it?
But seriously, she's very attractive.
You leave my dad out of this.
That cinema was packed with men in raincoats.
It was.
No, but yeah, she's actually quite attractive. She was. But there again, she's really good in it. Like, she's not an A-list star.
But she was at the time, though.
No, she was never an A-list star. She was always at least B, C-list. Like, she was never going to be up there with like your Tom Cruises or your Tom Hanks or your Angelina Jolie's and those kind of.
No, but she was for a short amount of time. She was a name. Terminator 2 was a name.
I mean, yeah.
Terminator didn't make her. Terminator 2 made her.
Yeah, I mean, Terminator 2 got a Dante's Peak, for God's sake. I mean, let's not forget that.
Yeah, all right.
She had a couple of I'm not.
With James Bond.
Yeah. We're going to do that as a versus one day. Dante's Peak versus Volcano.
Yeah.
James Bond versus Tommy Lee Jones.
I'd like to see Tommy Lee Jones as actually 007. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Craggy faced James Bond. Yeah, that is good. That'd be an interesting versus. That will.
Yeah.
But anyway, she is really good, and even what's his face, the lad, John Connor. Edward Furlong.
Edward Furlong, yeah.
First film. And he didn't last long. He did a couple of films, Pet Sematary and a couple of Pet Sematary 2. Sorry, and a couple
he still does films.
Yeah, but
he's still about. But he's more sort of like B-list.
Lower down the list than that. But he actually does really well in that film. I think
I think he's a great John Connor. I think out of all the John Connors in all of the Terminator films, to be honest with you, he's the best one.
Oh yeah, I agree.
By far, and I think obviously he had his problems which screwed up his career, but I mean that generally speaking, I think
Well, if Terminator 2
is the only film,
is your first,
I'm fine with that.
Is your first film?
Yeah.
Then do you know what?
Yeah.
You've set the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
For the rest of your career.
Yeah, totally.
Starring, if you were what you must have been like 10, 11.
I mean,
starring across Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 90s. Jesus, that's a hell of a thing. But yeah, no, I think so. From what were your thoughts then? So we watched Terminator in 3D. What was it worth seeing on the big screen?
Oh, totally. I mean, the remastered, as I call it, remastered. That's what it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
The remastered edition of it made it crisper. It gave it depth as well. And it's nice to sort of like bring something that's 25 years old to a generation that weren't even alive 25 years ago, and they still enjoy it. It's still up there today with the action films of today. I mean, I was trying to think of a modern day equivalent of a good action film. Fast and Furious, for instance, Fast and Furious, great films, and some of the effects are brilliant.
Yeah, they're good fun films. They're really good fun films. Good fun.
And you stick that next to it, and it's still up there. It'll still be online with, on par with.
Well, a lot of the things that they did in Terminator 2 and films of so again, I'd even say like there's some of the stunts and stuff they do in True Lies and stuff like that. They set up. They are like say cutting edge for the films that are coming out even now. Car chase films and stunts and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, the Harrier jet sequence in True Lies is phenomenal.
Exactly.
It's just like, what? And how it's done, but you just look at it and it's just great.
That's what I mean.
But yeah, I mean, and he was a pioneer. We were saying about technology. He couldn't do the stuff he wanted to do with technology, but fucking hell. I mean, back then, that when this came out, it was like, how the hell? I mean, the whole T-1000 liquid metal thing. It was just phenomenal. Now the effects have dated.
Yes.
And he could have Cameron could have just completely redone the effects and the entire
film. The T-1000 could have been a complete rehash. Yeah.
But he didn't. He left it as is.
And I'm glad about that.
Oh, totally. I thought it was...
It's dated, but it still stands up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It stands up in its thing. It is a class of its own. But I mean, we're 25 years on now?
Yeah, 25 years on. Yeah, 92.
That's insane, isn't it? 25 years on, and it's just astounding still.
It still holds up. I mean, the thing is, I was a bit... Because we've been to see a couple of sort of retro films. We went to see Hellraiser not long ago.
Yeah.
And we also went to see the double Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as a special thing, like a double whammy. And when we went to see Hellraiser, it was a special night. It was it was a sort of a local independent cinema, so it was relatively busy, right?
Yeah.
But the tickets were really cheap.
Yeah.
And it was only special. It was a bit of fun. So I was okay. It's quite busy. When we went to see Guardians and Guardians 2, the double band. Opening night, it was pretty quiet, I thought. So my expectation for the cinema, it's another old film, it's a bit of a gimmick, it's one of those things. I thought, I don't know, you're looking at probably 20 to 30 people coming to see it. Because it's national, so this was up and down the country. This film was the UK number one film in the cinema for that.
Was it?
Yep.
Oh, well done.
For the weekend. But it was for the weekend. It made more money... than the other films in the cinema in this country that were out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This was out
for one night. Well, it was packed when we went there. There was loads there, wasn't it? Yeah, it was loads of people
Apparently
there.
It was packed up and down the country.
It just
goes to show how, like you say, the longevity and the legacy of this film.
But also as well, people were laughing at the bits where they should laugh as well.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they knew the lines. Even me, I must watch that film probably, no exaggeration, probably about 200 times. I've watched it over and over again. I used to watch it on repeat, and even I still laugh at the jokes. I still laugh at that. What? I promise I will not kill anyone. And it's just brilliant film. And people were laughing. It was great. And again, as many times as I've seen the film, right at the end of the film, when he's putting his thumb up,
the thumb goes up.
A fly came into the cinema, hit me right in the corner of the eye.
It's funny because that you got hit by a fly. Popcorn
hit you in the eye.
Yeah. A single
tear come down. Yeah.
It's
bad when you have things flying into your eyes in cinema.
But it does, and that's the thing. And it makes me. I had to think about this the other day when we saw. Two things. This is 25 years later, and that film can still. Granted, it was one night only, and it was 3D. But it became number one film for the weekend.
God, I was 5 when it came out. It's amazing, isn't it?
5,
possibly 6.
Yeah. It goes to show how good that film is, right?
Yeah.
That is in the top flight of best films ever made. Right?
Absolutely.
And I will stand by that statement. That's what it can do.
It's a must-see film. It's a must-see film before you die.
I do not think if you were to release The Godfather, and people are probably going to, I'm probably going to get absolutely battered if anyone ever listens to this. If you were to release The Godfather in cinemas as a renovated edition, I do not think you'd have the same.
I agree. I don't think I don't think The Godfather is a film you need to see on the big screen.
No, this is.
I mean, you look at when I went to the Alien Day, and they showed Alien on the big screen.
Yeah.
I'd never seen it on the big screen. So on the big screen, was it worth? Yeah, of course it was worth it. It was brilliant seeing it on the big screen. It just adds that atmosphere to it. You feel claustrophobic in a cinema. I know it sounds really bizarre if you're in a large auditorium, but you do. You're dark and you're immersed in the experience, and you almost feel part of it. It's like VR. If you watch, if you stick on my PlayStation VR and watch a 3D film on that, I mean, you're lost. Things are coming at you. You're just immersed in the entire thing, and I think that's the way forward. Is that having more films restored that add a little extra to the film. I mean, I'll give you a good example. I mentioned earlier on Jaws. I would love to see a remastered 4K restored Jaws. I would be the first in line to buy a ticket for that.
I agree.
And I think, wow, such depth they could actually give and bestow to that picture.
So there are 3 things. Let's start with. There are 3 things that I want to ask. 3 questions. Right. First one, sequels. So this was Terminator 2. Now, I'm not going to put down Terminator 1 because I love Terminator 1, but they're very different films.
Okay.
So Terminator 1, as far as I'm concerned, is like a slasher film, and then you get the sci-fi action that's Terminator 2. But it ups the ante. It's like the perfect sequel.
Okay.
Ups, right?
Yeah.
Name 2 or 3 other sequels that you think perfectly follow or are a perfect sequel?
Aliens.
Yep. Cameron
again.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Aliens. Guardians 2. I know.
Oh, it's a bold statement.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think there was on par, if not better.
Okay. I enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed it.
I think it's better than the first one.
Do you think?
Yeah, I did, because there was more. The characters had more to do in this one than they did in the last one.
You didn't have to get over the origin story stuff. You could just get into the story.
Just get into the story, get into the characters they developed and stuff. It was. I think it was a good one. Gosh, I would say Friday the 13th. I would say the second one was much better than the original.
That's a really bold statement, because some people really hold up that first film as an amazing slasher film.
Terrible. It's awful.
I quite like the first one. I'm not disputing what you're saying, because I do agree that I think the first one's fine for what it is. I think some of the sequels are actually really good.
You think about the whole Friday when you say Friday the 13th, people think Jason Voorhees. So it's all marketed in that kind of direction. So you don't think about his mum anymore. You just think about Jason Voorhees. You know, it was all a little bit. I don't know. I felt a bit cheated at the end of Friday the 13th.
Really?
Yeah, just like kill her, Jason. Kill her, mommy. Kill her. I will, Jason. Like, what? You're just mental, love. What are you doing? And the fact is that she overpowered all of these really young and fit people.
Yeah, well, there's one, because she's basically an old woman.
Yeah, she's an old lady.
There is one of the kills is hanging off a door.
Yeah.
And I always, whenever I watch it now, when I watch it back, I'm a bit like, I'm sure she must have had help, because that's not right.
So who's the second killer then? You know, and that's my problem. There's lots of flaws in the first one. But no, that one, Gremlins 2.
Oh, another. Wow, really? I'm not gonna. I love both of those films.
Yeah.
I do think Gremlins 1 is a superior film.
Okay.
I don't get me wrong. I love Gremlins 2, and they went into. The fact is that they're very different films. Gremlins 1 is a dark horror comedy.
Yeah.
A creature feature.
Well, Gremlins 2 is just fun.
It's a Looney Tunes cartoon that actually features Hulk Hogan talking to me.
Yeah. It is. But John Wayne in one of the versions.
It does. It was the UK theatrical version, wasn't it? It was John Wayne. Yeah. And it wasn't until it came out on video over here that you had Hulk Hogan.
The Gremsters ready.
The Gremsters ready to take on the Hulkster. Yeah. What a very silly and bizarre thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any more that I can actually think of.
You get the usual ones.
Titanic 2.
Titanic 2. Yeah, Titanic 2.
There is actually a Titanic 2, though, isn't it?
The resurfacing.
Did I tell you about the Titanic 2?
No.
There's a film called Titanic 2 that is about a ship called the Titanic that hits an iceberg and sinks. Seriously.
This is not a modern film.
This is a modern film.
Okay, we'll have to look into that one, because that sounds nuts.
That's a kind of two guys, one envelope.
Yeah,
kind of film.
We've got to find that one and do that. That's weird. Okay, mine. I'd say Terminator 2 is top of the pile.
Yeah.
Aliens.
Godfather.
Godfather 2. I was going to say Godfather 2 is a cinematic masterpiece. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. It doesn't. For me, and this is making it controversial, Godfather 2 doesn't need Godfather and Godfather 3. And you don't have to watch Godfather and Godfather 3 to watch Godfather 2.
No, I agree.
I think
I totally agree.
It is a standalone film as far as I'm concerned.
You could watch it and pick up everything you need from watching watching Godfather 2. Totally agree. And that's the masterfulness of it.
Yeah.
Something I'm not sure you've seen, but is from the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Captain America 2, the Winter Soldier. In fact, I think you should watch it.
I've seen it. I have seen it.
Yeah, Winter Soldier is amazing. I love that film. I think there are a couple, like you said, that really stand out where they've done something different, and I do think the fact that they've done something different is what puts them apart. So, like you say, Alien 1 is it's almost like a haunted. It's a haunted house film. It's an intense, claustrophobic horror. Yeah. The second one is a balls to the wall sort of action horror film.
That's the difference between the two. You see, is because the first film, not a lot happens, then shit hits the fan.
Yes.
For the last 10 minutes. And then in the first film, and the second film is like, the shit hits the fan, and it continues to hit the fan all throughout the film. So it's a really, really good sequel.
And the same with Terminator. The first Terminator film is like it's almost on par with like...
It's a slow pursuit film.
It's a slow pursuit film. It's almost like Michael Myers or some of those films where you know the killer just does not stop. You know, take a line from the film, but that's it, isn't it? It's that Michael Myers, like it just relentlessly walks after you or comes after you.
This is going to be controversial, okay? But there's two films that just sprung to mind about sequels.
Okay.
Child's Play 2.
I actually do agree with that. I love Child's Play 2.
Better than Child's Play 1.
I agree. Yeah.
And Hellraiser 2.
I watched these recently because we went to see Hellraiser, and I watched Hellraiser 2 after. Apart from some sort of slightly shoddy special effects in the finale, I almost agree. I think Hellraiser 2, it possibly is a better film. It's. I mean, Clive Barker's clearly been more comfortable. Julia is an amazing villain when she comes back.
Sexy as shit.
What, without skin? She's crazy, but she's such a good villain.
Yeah, she's great.
And when you sort of get the whole thing about the Cenobites and you find Leviathan and all that other stuff. Oh, it's a good film. That is a great film.
Yeah, it's a good sequel. You see,
this is the thing though. Now this is what I was curious. All of these films, right? First film, very very good.
Yeah.
Second film, just as good, if not better. Right? Aliens, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Hellraiser 2, those sort of things, right? And do you know what happens then?
They make a third.
They make a third one, and the franchises just go to shit.
I think that's the only exception to the rule.
Godfather 2, Godfather 3.
Yeah, well, why do you make that? But the only exception to that rule is Indiana Jones, because The Last Crusade is an exceptional film.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that. I don't think Temple of Doom is better than Raiders. I think they are consistently good.
But I think the third one is better than the second, is what I'm saying.
Oh yes, I agree. Yeah. They went too dark in the second one, and then they realised and they lightened the mood a little bit. But that's it. Like you look at Terminator. Terminator has not been able to recapture that magic of the first two films. Terminator 3 is
the amazing Genesis, though. It's an amazing film.
I'm going to punch you in the face. Terminator 3 it has its moments. And I like the fact that it ends with the apocalypse. Well, yeah, spoilers.
But the concept is good, but I just didn't.
No, there were parts of it that
work.
it was.
You've had Arnie being the Uber killer, yeah, and then you've had him going against a T-1000 like an unstoppable force, and then he gets defeated by a woman. Do you know what I mean? It's just
it never played out right.
No,
and I get the fact that TX, and I know why they did it, and again, her as a character is quite interesting. I thought there's a character having the female Terminator. Like, why wouldn't you have a female Terminator if you're going to try and infiltrate or seduce enemy soldiers and all sorts of stuff in the future?
I'd let her.
Yeah, exactly. You know. Makes total
Not
now.
Sense.
Have
you seen her now?
No.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. But like you say, it was just the fact they played too much of it for laughs.
Yeah.
And they learnt the lesson, and the ending's dark. I mean, the end ends with the bloody apocalypse, but the fact they've tried to play some bits for comedy, and then you have that ending, you're just like, oh, that was a tonal shift I did not want to see. And then you get Salvation and Genesis is possibly I'm serious, like, I hate Genesis with a passion.
See, I like Genesis. I enjoyed Genesis for what it was, because I thought it was clever going back to the original film.
It was.
I think it was great. Arnold Schwarzenegger having a fight with himself in 1984. Like, yeah, I like that.
There are bits of it, again, that I think are clever, but I just think it was one of those things where there was a confidence in there that said, oh yeah, of course we're going to get more films in this trilogy. Because there's always the thing of, well, how did Arnie get to the 1970s to save Sarah Connor? Never covered in the film, because it's supposed to be in a sequel. But the fact is, don't keep dropping stuff for future sequels. Tell us a story and then build on it. That's what you should do. You tell a story and you build on the mythology. Don't leave unanswered questions out. Because that's exactly what happened with Salvation. Salvation was a bag.
Oh, Salvation was terrible.
Yeah.
I hated Salvation. But I disagree with you, because I reckon you just contradicted yourself big time.
How?
Pally.
In which way?
Marvel do it all the fucking
time.
They
do. No. And I will say this: it drives me nuts. And I the thing is, Age of Ultron.
I'm glad, this is why I've got you as a friend. No other reason except for Marvel, so I can turn to you when I watch a Marvel film and go, "What's that about? Who's that?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, he's from the comic book, but in issue 34, paragraph 3."
Let me just dive into my encyclopedic knowledge. No, I agree. But one of the reasons...
Just the one ticket? Would you like a Scott Weatherly with it? Yes, please.
One of the reasons that Winter Soldier, though, is such a good film, and the reason that the Guardians of the Galaxy films are so popular and so good, is because they bin off all that. So Winter Soldier, yes, you need to have seen the first Captain America film. As you know, for Terminator 2, you sort of have to have seen the Terminator film. But you haven't got to have seen it. You haven't got to have seen Avengers. You don't have to have seen all the others. It works in that time. It works as a standalone. It's a sequel to the first Captain America film, not to anything else. But you're right. Like some of the I mean, I hate. I don't hate
loose ends.
Loose ends, and when they stick questions in, you know, it's almost like we are that confident we're going to do this. I'm like, you arrogant tosspot. It winds me up, and I do find Marvel. It does annoy me with Marvel. It annoys me with all those sort of films. Tell a story, and if it's good, you can lay Easter eggs in, but don't make it obvious. So again, that's why I enjoyed Doctor Strange, because it completely separated from the Marvel and sort of like, we are in the Marvel universe and we acknowledge that, but we're telling a story and then we'll move on to something else later on. So yeah, no, I agree. I do actually accept that as a criticism of the Marvel films, definitely.
But then, I suppose Genesis, I can understand what you're saying about Genesis in all fairness, but I enjoy Genesis for what it was.
I will. Maybe I'll have to go back and watch it. I tried to watch it not too long ago, and I got about 30 minutes in and turned it off, and I was like, nope.
See, I think what you need to do... Have you not seen it to the end?
I have seen it all the way through.
Okay.
It was the second round. I was trying to watch it again because I saw it at the cinema, and then I was like, I watched it all the way through. Then when it was on Netflix, I was like, all right, I'll give it a go.
What's the name? What's the name of the actress that plays Sarah Connor?
In this one,
yeah,
Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah, Daenerys. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go home. I'm going to take the film. I'm going to edit it all, and every time I'm going to superimpose Daenerys onto that. So every time you see Sarah Connor, she's naked. Kind of works.
From footage in every time from footage using Game of Thrones, that's probably possible.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's just that the story's cack. And they turn John Connor, spoilers, they turn John Connor into the villain and all this other shit, and I'm just like, oh, it's a mess. But
and Doctor Who's in it.
And Doctor Who's in it.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's all very weird.
Of all the people you pick Matt fucking... What's his name?
Matt Smith. Yeah.
So
I like Matt Smith. I think he's a great actor and stuff.
What?
But, no, I do. I love him as Doctor
Who.
I do.
No fucking way.
I enjoy him as Doctor Who, and I think he's a good actor. But
I don't know you anymore. You have changed.
Who's your favourite Doctor then?
Well, Tom Baker, I think.
Oh yeah, but there's a classic.
David Tennant.
All right, David. Yeah, no, I do that. David Tennant is my favourite modern Doctor.
Yeah,
isn't
that's my favourite modern
classic Doctor. My
Doctor. I
Doctor
don't even believe that Matt Smith was ever the Doctor. I think that was just a dream
that
lasted 3 years.
So a nightmare.
It was, yeah.
My favourite classic Doctor, or my classic Doctor, because I'm a bit younger, is McCoy. Sylvester
McCoy. Yeah,
Sylvester McCoy.
He's all right.
He was my Doctor.
Yeah, he's good, but he's no Tom Baker.
Oh no, I don't dispute that.
Sean Pertwee. Bill. No, Sean Pertwee. That's who we should have at Doctor Who, man.
It would be good. I always think that. I've thought in the past, father and son combo.
I'm the Doctor.
That'd be really good. Female Doctor coming up. I'm really intrigued by that. I'm really excited by that. It looks interesting.
Yeah. It's like having a female Terminator. It won't work. It won't work. Don't do it.
I'm going to get angry tweets about this.
You know that? Yeah.
Okay, so let's just quickly wrap this up because we've been chatting on about all kinds of shit. But there were two other things I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Just quickly. 1992, the Oscar for Best Film went to Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven.
Yep.
Okay.
Great film.
It is a very good film, actually. Okay. I've probably watched it twice since 1992. Terminator 2, I've probably watched multiple times, and it packed out a cinema for 25 years actually after its release. It became
Unforgiven
wouldn't do that.
No.
The question I have is, do the wrong films get the Oscars?
Oh, totally. It's political. Yeah. That's all it is. Just political.
All right.
Clint Eastwood's going to die soon, so let's give him an Oscar. The bastard's still alive 25 years later.
Don't get me wrong, I love Clint Eastwood.
Oh, I love him, yeah.
And one day we will be doing the spaghetti westerns as a bit of a thing. We're going to do some western stuff.
Okay.
I watched
The Good, the Bad, the Ugly versus Dirty Harry.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good.
That's good.
Best Clint Eastwood. I watched Tombstone as well the other day, and I love that film.
He's not in that.
No, but Kurt Russell is.
God.
So. Yeah, and there was a final thing I was saying. It was sequels, it was Oscars, and we watched it modern day, and we've pretty much answered the question, right? Do you think then that modern films, as in modern filmmakers, modern blockbuster filmmakers, could learn something from looking back at films like Terminator 2?
Yeah, I think they can learn from the longevity of why it still stands the test of time now. What they, that less is more sometimes. Because if you consider it, there's very few huge special effects parts. And some of it is very crudely done, and very subtly done. I mean, that he's got he's got his hand in something to make a knife, and you can kind of, it's not all CGI. Sometimes it's prop based, and it's just, and I think that, that's how you make a sequel. That's how you carry the story on to a full stop. And I think it should also teach people that quit while you're ahead.
Yes.
Because they didn't actually work out the ending. And this is the problem. My only problem with Terminator 2 is they didn't work out the ending because they crushed his arm downstairs. And his arm
It's still left. It's still there.
So they chucked the other arm in there, and they chucked him in there.
And then there's this crushed arm.
Because obviously, and where's the rest of the skeleton from the first one?
Well, that was too badly. He says it in it. They say in the film it was too badly damaged, so they destroyed.
The arm was out of the crate.
Yeah, because the arm's the only thing.
I get you. Yeah.
Because the other thing is, let's just one final thing. Which I love.
But the chip was in his head, so I mean.
There's one final thing then. So in the first Terminator film.
Yeah.
The film itself is actually if you watch it to the very, very, very end, right, literally up until the credits, when they all come out, they're all being taken out of the police come to the factory where the Terminator's been crushed. And it's all As she's being wheeled out to the ambulance, and then you see the body bag with Sean Bean in it. Michael Bean. He gets carried out, right? In the background, you see that the factory they've just come out of is Cyberdyne Systems.
Oh, there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what you learn is, actually, if that Terminator hadn't gone back in time, and Kyle Reese hadn't gotten back in time, there never would be an apocalypse.
So it's like a paradox.
It's a paradox. They are. So it's almost like chicken and egg. So the Terminator coming back is what creates the. This is what's covered in Terminator 2. It creates the technology which creates Skynet, which then creates the Terminator. But then Kyle Reese coming back creates John Connor, which then creates the Resistance, which then creates Kyle Reese coming back. It's a fixed loop. Like that first film is a fixed loop.
And then Genesis, they spoil it.
And then in Genesis, they literally take that and go, you know that thing that James Cameron did that was almost perfect? Yeah, I'm going to shit all over it. Shits and giggles.
Do you think that James Cameron actually thought after making Terminator that there would be a sequel?
No, he didn't think he had a career after Terminator.
Really?
Yeah. When Terminator came out, he made it was a passion project, and he wanted to show what he could do. And some of the initial reactions from critics was, it's a pulp film, it's naff, da, da, da. It wasn't until audiences saw it that it blew up, and the people were like, oh, it's amazing, it's amazing. And that he started to get work again, and he got Aliens and that sort of thing.
Wow.
But initial critic reactions when they did all the critic screenings was that it was just a pulp horror. It was a pulp / horror film.
Wow. Okay.
So he thought he was dead in the water.
Okay.
And then obviously it blew up from there, and it was huge. And he did, and then Aliens obviously cemented it, and he went on from there.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, and in the future we're going to get 4 or 5 Avatar sequels.
Yeah.
And
no one's going to care.
This is the thing, and I'm really worried about it because I do think he's a great director, and I think he's a great creator, and like you say, cutting edge technology. But I have no excitement for this.
But after Titanic, he disappeared up his own arse, so he's not the same James Cameron he was back then.
So should he learn from his own thing of quit while you're ahead?
Oh, I would say most definitely. I think give Avatar to someone else now.
Yeah, or don't do it. There's no need for it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a story to be told, possibly.
Yeah, it's called Fern Gully. I've already seen it, and Robin Williams was in it, and it was better.
Yeah, and Madonna.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm gonna we'll finish there. But basically, I think that's a recommendation from the both of us.
No, totally.
That Terminator 2 and Terminator 2 3D
worth seeing.
Worth seeing. I'd even consider getting 4K TV and Blu-ray player and everything just so I can get that restoration version.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I'd agree.
Okay, thanks very much. Been a good little bonus episode.
No worries.
And we'll sign off on that.